FM 90.
Brought to you by Housing Finance Bank, a financial institution regulated by Bank of Uganda. Housing Finance Bank, we make it easy.
Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
A very good evening to you and welcome to this edition of Spectrum. We are coming to you live on Radio 1 FM 90. Radio 1 is also broadcasting live on its website, which is www.radio1fm90.com. You click on the icon with the word Listen Live. You can also find us on the different radio listening apps. These radio listening apps can be obtained from the Google Store of your smartphone. They are TuneIn, Afro Mobile, your TV channel, Radio Garden, and Stream Africa. When you download any of those, look for Radio 1 FM 90, and as long as you have an internet connection, you should be able to listen to us from anywhere across this globe. There's also another option via your TV set. That is, if you have a DSTV connection, look for audio channel 897, and if you're on StarTimes, look for audio channel 97. Two ways to contribute to this discussion. One of the ways is to send us a message via WhatsApp line, which is 0703 090 090. I'll repeat that number, 0703 090 090. The other option is to actually call in. Time allowing, I'll open the phone lines for you to do so. My name is Kenneth Lukwagandason, your host, and today we'll be looking at the challenge of sexual and gender-based violence, and we'll be asking what we need to do as a country to respond to the skyrocketing cases of sexual and gender-based violence. Now, cases of sexual and gender-based violence, including defilement, rape, battering of spouses, psychological torture, murder, and economic sabotage, continue to rise in Uganda, with the latest figure indicating that we have, for the last 5 years, also been spending annually 77 billion shillings to treat related cases that can be avoidable. Now, as Uganda joins the rest of the world to observe the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, those days began on Friday, this situation calls for deep reflection and interventions that can help us to reduce or eradicate this menace. If left unattended to, it could become a huge problem. Now, several organizations involved in advocacy against this vice have put forward proposals that they think can help this country to achieve a society free from sexual and gender-based violence. The proposals range from more funding to the entities mandated to deal with the vice, full implementation of the laws, community mobilization, and integrating victim-centered approaches to ensure access to justice, among others. So today we'll be hearing the different voices on these proposals to understand how we can actually address this challenge, which is continuing to cause us problems. I'll be speaking to Ms. Elizabeth Ampire. She's the Director of Programs at the Forum for Women in Democracy, for WADE. She will be joining us on the line. We have in studio Ms. Samantha May Aguero, Legal Officer at the Women's Pro Bono Initiative, and also Ms. Bashra Nantongo. She's Assistant Lecturer at the Islamic University in Uganda. Good evening, ladies, and welcome to Spectrum.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you.
And I'll begin with you very quickly, Samantha May Aguero. Before we even jump in, let's tell people more about the Women Pro Bono Initiative. Who are you, and how do you come in as far as this issue we're discussing today is concerned?
Okay. Thank you, Kenneth. The Women's Pro Bono Initiative is a feminist organization that aims at advancing gender justice through promoting autonomy, voice, and influence of women and girls in legislation, policy, and practice. Now, the 16 days activism started in 1991, and it's basically based on the elimination of violence against women and girls. So, as a feminist organization that advocates for the rights of women and girls, that is where we come in. We offer free legal aid services to victims of GBV, and in all this we have embraced initiatives. For example, we have at the moment we are having a project that is transforming the SRHR narratives, the conservative SRHR narratives on violence. So that's how we come in as an organization to change those narratives.
Right. You issued a press statement which talks about implementation, which talks about integrating victim-centered approaches to ensure access to justice, among others. Then tell us about that and how it will help to deal with the challenge that we are looking at.
So basically, as they're usually called people who go through this sexual gender-based violence are called, the right word is actually survivors, because they are going through that and healing from the process. So as we implement, the implementation is basically through and following the theme, invest. The theme for this year, for the 16 days, is unite, invest to prevent violence against women and girls. So we believe that by investing in education, awareness programs, and the empowerment of women and girls, we can create a society that rejects violence and promotes equity. So by investing in education, this is like writing kits for teenage girls so that they don't, there is a reduced percentage of teenage pregnancy, so that they know their sexuality and how they can prevent STIs, and yeah. So that is how we do that.
So you have a feeling that a lot is not being done as far as investing in education.
Yes.
Is that what you think?
Yes. First of all, in Uganda, one, there are conservative narratives. No one wants to talk about sexuality. That is one. Then two, people do not even want to, they look down, they stigmatize those who have, the victims who have passed through SGBV. So, and that is wrong. As a country, we shouldn't look down on these people. We shouldn't stigmatize them. We should be able to bring them up. Instead, the conservative narratives come about in the fact that they look down on these people and not even on the perpetrator. When a girl is raped and she gets pregnant, no one is there saying, let's look for the man. They're just even telling her, even when she doesn't want the pregnancy, even when she wants to abort, they'll look down on her, say things she shouldn't abort. But it's her body, it's her right. You have a right. It's you have a right to what you want for your body. So as a country, and first of all, even right now, we don't have policies on safe abortion, but we all know that abortion is going on, even secretly, and that is endangering the lives of women and girls.
Well, you bring in the other aspect. Not so long ago, we had a deep discussion here about access to contraceptives for young girls, but now you also bring in the issue of abortion, which is also something that many people in our society do not support. How do we resolve, how do we change that particular narrative that you're thinking is negative, yet we know very well it is deeply embedded within the thinking of our society? People actually say this is a no-go area. Children as young as 15 should not be accessing contraceptives. Children are a gift of God. Why do you have to do abortion? All those kind of things, arguments keep on coming each time you bring up those issues.
Yes, we have seen, because of the conservative nature of our country, we have seen that it's not even easy to talk about abortion. It's not, let alone contraceptives. But we have seen the high rocketing numbers of teenage pregnancies in Uganda. And in a way, the government and other citizens are running away from the truth. We are running away from reality. We are seeing the teenage pregnancies. You can go to a hospital and find that most of the people who have come for antenatal are actually young children, but people are trying to be blind to the reality that is there. So how we can do this is, one, by we sensitize communities, and then we also want the government to be part of this, because first of all, the theme of this year is talking about invest. How is everyone investing how is everyone investing to prevent violence against women? So as nations are accountable, governments are accountable to their citizens. So what are governments doing to be accountable to their citizens when we see that there are high teenage pregnancies? So the government has a duty to put in place policies that will help bring down those teenage pregnancies, and they shouldn't try to be blind to that. Then two, even the other citizens and the media should show the world what is happening clearly, and they can come out and show that the numbers and be clear about that. And so as a community, as an NGO world, the NGOs and the citizens of the country, that is our duty to make sure that everyone is clearly seeing what's happening and to fight that through all those ways.
All right. You talk about this issue as if we have a very big problem. If somebody asks you to share statistics, do you have some statistics to actually show how bad the situation is?
Yes. Now, according to the Uganda Police Annual Crime Report of 2022, there was 17,698 people who are victims of domestic violence. And this is thus, all this GBV is, there is sexual, there is domestic, that happens between even people who are cohabiting or married. And in those people, the 17,698 people, 13,052 were women and 950 were girls. And the same report states that as per the sex-related crime victims, 12,816 were girls and 1,946 were women. This is not to say that for men they are not being, because we know there is also violence against men, but it's to show you that
But you don't talk about it, do you?
We do.
There's a feeling there that you people who are in the women movement think about sexual and gender-based violence as an issue for women.
Gender-based violence is not only violence against women; it's violence on on any person based on their gender. So there is violence happening even to men. But what, as an organization, we come in to show that
the proportion
of that happening to women is bigger and larger than that compared to men. And that's why we come in as an organization to try and minimize that.
All right. But let's hear from you. The theme this year is Invest to Prevent Violence Against Women and Girls as a key player in the women's rights ecosystem. That's the theme that we are actually using to commemorate the 16 days of activism, which ran from the 25th of November to the 10th of December. What's your take? What exactly is the problem? Why are we seeing the cases actually going up? We heard from Samantha quoting the statistics there, and it seems each passing year the figures keep going up.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. As this year's theme states, invest to end violence against women and girls, I think it should be a collective effort. The moment everyone chooses to leave another to take on a role, there is always a challenge, because everyone has a part to play here. That is why we are assigned, we are actually different, we are unique as human beings, and our uniqueness should be our ability to actually exercise and do better. So once we invest, for example, when we talk about investment, we're not talking about just finances, we are talking about time, we are talking about dedication, we are talking about affiliation. We want to end this, because a nation without a woman, there is no future, because these are the mothers, these are the ones that create generations. So to me, when we talk about investment, I think it should be a collective effort, because a man cannot be there without a woman, neither can a woman be there without a man. So it should be a collective effort, even for children. Children, back then, I remember when I was growing up, one man, our neighbor, was harassing the mother. But the kids were the ones shouting, and they were telling the dad, "Daddy, if you don't stop beating mommy, we are going to report you to the police station." So this is a collective effort. It is a joint effort that is going to be a collective responsibility of everyone, regardless of your culture, regardless of your origin. It should be a unifying factor for all of us to actually join and end violence against women and girls. And again, one issue I was also very keen at, was it yesterday, but one, I happened to hear about a story of a young girl around 6 years who was battered by the dad. But the mom was also there. Why? Because even the mom was also battered. So the mother feared the husband. to the extent that the child was burnt both hands, the young girl was burnt both hands, and even her private parts. The dad put a panga in a fireplace and burnt it red and had to punish this young girl that way. But when the woman was asked, she was like, yes, he always does that even to me. So meaning this is something that we need to unite against. It is something that we all have to, join and say enough is enough. It is our collective responsibility, the people of the country, the young people of the country, the governments, the donors, and the world at large.
Right. So in your own analysis, if it comes to issues of investment, because I've heard about complaints about more money not being put in entities that would help to deal with this problem, what kind of entities, what kind of government departments would you propose should be given adequate resources to actually help us respond to this problem?
In my own understanding, I think the main departments that should be given this funding, basically the Office of Public Prosecutions, and also the Child and Family Protection Unit under the police department, simply because whenever these actions tend to happen, these young women or these young girls run to the police stations for help. They always run there to seek assistance or to seek justice. So when these organizations reaching a police station, you need an officer to take charge, and they will tell you now we need, how do they call it? There is a way they term it in Swahili. Is it kitu kidogo? Something like that. Or they will even directly say we don't have fuel. So now this is a rural woman in Karamoja, or this is a woman in Nakapiripiriti, who even barely finds it easy to have a meal a day, 1 meal a day. Then she's battered, coming to the police station. Now there is no fuel for the police officers to come and help her. What is going to happen? The next time she won't come. And if she doesn't come, she will either be killed, she will either be emotionally abused, or she will also be the murderer. Those are the cases you hear, and men will also come and stand and say, we are also facing gender-based violence. But ask yourself, what caused that? There is always a cause for it. If this woman comes and she's not helped, she will also have to think about ways of how personally can she help herself to survive that kind of situation. So to me, I think those two entities are very, very important, because even when you go to those public prosecutors, if at all you don't have some money or some big organization pushing your agenda, you will not find the justice you desire. You will end up seeing that the people who have, for example, there is a case which the Deputy Speaker chose to follow up. I don't know how far he has gone with it, of a man who raped a young girl. Not even, I remember the age was, she was a juvenile, very young. And the Deputy Speaker vowed that I will personally go and investigate the matter. I don't know how far he has taken the step. But then these are people who will go because he has a connection in the police station. He will reach there because, there is no justice. And the person who has reported is a nobody. I, for one, I have evidence of a man, a neighbor. He has raped his own children, but whenever he's taken to the police custody, you find him back on his chapati modalas, carrying on his business. So this is the kind of justice we need. If at all the government or the donors put more funding in these two departments, at least we can reach some compromise in terms of attacking this vice of gender-based violence.
Samantha, do you want to weigh in on this issue of investing? Where should we invest? Is it time? Is it resources? Is it coming up with new strategies? Because from these figures, it seems we are stuck somewhere and we are not moving.
So I think we should invest in their government Ministry of Gender. It's basically also among the government entities that are in charge of that. Then two, government should also invest in local authorities. These are the LC1, LC2, LC3. Those are the people who hear the things firsthand. But usually their authorities is pushed aside like they don't matter. Okay? And then government should partner with organizations. Now, organizations that advocate for women's rights, there may be organizations that also advocate for human rights, basically, so that if any is playing, that is advocating for all these rights against this gender-based violence, either for men or women, it's just all human rights. So government should partner with each of those people, can provide trainings, can provide human resource, can also provide money, because to do all this you need finances. So that is where government comes in.
Well, you are a lawyer. Bashra talked about the issue of investing in the Directorate of Public Prosecution.
Yes.
What exactly is the problem there?
The problem,
because your position as an organization also talks about access to justice.
Yes.
Could there be a connection?
Yes, like she had talked about the fact that, one, they have to invest in paying the DPP well, and making sure, and also taking them through sensitization against corruption and bribery, because there is a lot of corruption that happens when people take their cases there. People will take their cases there, but because this person has more money, we hear stories of a case has been dismissed. How do you dismiss a case of defilement, of rape, without investigating?
Have you heard about something called want of evidence when there's no evidence? Probably those are the ones that are
Yes, but at least try to investigate. Not tomorrow the man was arrested. He hasn't even he wasn't even remanded. First of all, if the case dies from police, there are cases that, one, a person was taken to police, the man paid off someone, so it dies even from police. There are those that are even taken straight, like the person is remanded, before you know it, the case is dismissed. How is such a case dismissed? Yet there is a child here. There are even medical reports to show that she was defiled. So that is wrong. So even police is among the people that government should invest in, through sensitizing them about human rights and how they can also be a part of this, of fighting for human rights.
Do you think the office of the DPP is well-staffed, well-funded, to actually conclusively carry out investigations that could lead to prosecution? I'm looking at some statistics here, and on the side of prosecution, there seems to be a problem. And even the cases that have convictions secured also seem to be very few.
Yeah, I personally, I feel the DPP has been trying. Because even this year they hired new officers, but it's not a thing that gets worked on immediately. We can start like that, step by step, because they may not have all the officials or all the human resource to do all these cases, but it's a step by step process. Can we try as a nation? With time we shall get there.
All right, Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. We're discussing challenges related to sexual and gender-based violence, and today I'm speaking to two ladies who are here in studio. That is Miss Samantha May Aguero. She's a legal officer at the Women's Pro Bono Initiative, and also Miss Bashra Nantongo, assistant lecturer at the Islamic University of Uganda. She's a campaigner against sexual and gender-based violence and a graduate of the Forward Leadership Academy. And we are going to be joined on the line by Miss Elizabeth Ampiri, Director of Programs at the Forum for Women in Democracy. Share with us your views. Use our WhatsApp line, which is 0703-090-090. Stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90. We continue after this break.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
You can't come to the Sheraton? Worry not. Sheraton will come to you. Order your favorite meal for you and your family at your home, office, or special function. We deliver breakfast, lunch, early dinner, snacks, cakes, and pastries. We also cater to weddings, bridal and baby showers, birthdays, anniversaries, and all your special occasions. Stay home and let's bring your meal to your doorstep. Sheraton Kampala is also available on Jumia Food and Glovo. For bookings and inquiries, call 0312-322-499 or 0752-711-191. Email foodandbeverage@sheratonkampala.com.
Terms of business with Housing Finance Bank and meet your business needs with ease. Get unsecured bid bonds of up to 500 million shillings within 24 hours. That's not all. Housing Finance Bank is also offering other short-term facilities, including performance guarantees, advance payment guarantees, contract financing, export and import financing, invoice discounting, and so much more. Contact our trade finance team today on 0417-707-595. You can also call our contact center on 0800-211-082 or WhatsApp 0771-888-755 or visit any of our Housing Finance Bank branch nearest to you. Housing Finance Bank, we make it easy. Housing Finance Bank is regulated by Bank of Uganda, and customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund up to 10 million Uganda shillings. Terms and conditions apply.
Fly better to your dream destination with Emirates. Whether it's the life and soul of Mumbai, family adventures in Dubai, or discovering ancient wonders and bazaars in Istanbul. But remember, it's not just about where you're going. It's also about how you get there. Fly Emirates and start your holiday with delicious regional dining, complimentary drinks, outstanding service, and award-winning entertainment. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on Spectrum Live on Radio 1 FM 90. We are looking at the challenge of sexual and gender-based violence in Uganda as we commemorate the 16 days of activism. I have a number of panelists in studio. First of all, we have on the line joining us Ms. Elizabeth Ampire. She's the Director of Programs at the Forum for Women in Democracy. Also in studio, Ms. Samantha May Aguero. She's the Legal Officer at the Women Pro Bono Initiative. And Ms. Bashara Nantongo, Assistant Lecturer at Islamic University in Uganda. Good evening, Elizabeth, and welcome to Spectrum. Good evening, Elizabeth. Thank you for joining us on Spectrum. Well, we are getting feedback from her. I think there's a problem with the line. We'll try and correct that particular incident and then get back to Elizabeth so that she can join us in this discussion. Very quickly, Bashara, there is an issue called mindset change that very many people have been talking about as far as dealing with sexual and gender-based violence. Why is it important for us to focus on that pillar? Ms. Aguero talked about the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Involvement, and that particular issue of mindset change and community mobilization is under that particular ministry. And we think it's one of the areas that has not received the utmost attention in terms of funding.
Thank you very much once again. We need to know that the issue of mindset change is something very, very critical, because the fact that our year annual theme is about investment to end sexual gender-based violence against women and girls. We are calling on board everyone. We are calling on board everyone to unite and invest on this. So, meaning, if at all someone has challenges with the mindsets or with the narratives, could be culture. For example, she talked about issues of abortion. Someone could have a negative perspective in regards to abortion. Someone could have a negative perspective in regards to these pills, the contraceptives. But again, if we try to make a uniform mindset, we are going to do a collective responsibility. And when we look at the third national development plan, recognize that issue of mindset change to combat gender-based violence, to ensure full participation of women and girls in development. And we see that the structures mandated to this role are grossly underfunded. Why? It is the government stating that the issue of mindset change is very critical and calls on board everyone, women and girls, to come on board. But again, it's the government inadequately funding these women. And we see that in terms of reduction of negative cultural practices and attitudes is one of the key mandates of the community mobilization and mindset change. We are looking at the issue of community mobilization. Remember, you first mobilize, then you try to see the mindset of people. And when we talk about, my colleague here talked about the issue of abortion. And to me, I always have something in mind. Yes, abortion could happen, but it is still endangering the life of the girl. She has already been endangered by some man who did it maybe rape, or even lying her for food, or sanitary even towels. They even tell them, if you give me this, I'll give you sanitary towels, and they need them.
Surely.
Yes, they sleep for sanitary towels. So I'm asking, there are two things that really pain me. One, why don't we hunt down these men? Because they have already endangered the girl's life. She's pregnant. Pregnancy or abortion, both of the aspects put a girl child at risk. Where is the man now? All the issues we are trying to bring on table, all the aspects we are bringing on to the center, are still going to affect the girl child.
All right.
Where is the man in this issue?
All right. Elizabeth has joined us on the line. Good evening, Elizabeth. Thank you for making time to be with us on Spectrum. Elizabeth, can you hear us? Well, it seems we're not getting Elizabeth. Let's continue. Mr. Aguero, you heard about the issue of mindset change. Do you think it's very critical for us to spend more time in mobilizing the community? And how can we do it? Do we need to go out there and meet people, talk to them? How can we achieve this particular objective, even with the challenge of funding that Basra has highlighted?
Yeah. So despite there being policy interventions to address GBV, there remain barriers to actualize a society where women and girls are free from all forms of discrimination. Some of these barriers are mindset change, like she has talked about. So mindset change is important because it helps us as a nation to be able to tackle these conservative narratives around GBV. So as I believe the government, we can do that through the government should be a part of it, the media should be a part of it, citizens should be a part of it. One of the ways we can all be involved is as a government, the government should be more involved in SRHR awareness creation and make the services affordable and accessible to people. Let's not shy away from providing these services. People do not like talking about SRHR, so the government should be more really involved in SRHR awareness creation. That is through sensitization, through making even some services available in hospitals, in the referral hospitals, one. And then another one is the media and everyone at large, like here, like the way you've given us a platform to talk to people. So the media helps us to be able to sensitize people about their rights. So that is another way. Then there's also need for more rehabilitation shelters for victims of GBV. We understand that because right now we should be more we should use a more victim-centered approach. So we should be able to provide rehabilitation centers for those victims. And how should we do this? Government should provide those shelters so that the victims can heal from such shelters. Then there is need for more community engagement. Community engagement is through sensitization, like I talked about. Knowledge sharing really goes a long way in mindset change. And then we can have strategic partnerships. Government can partner with organizations to make sure that this mindset change actually happens.
All right, let's go a little bit practical, and I'll give you an example. You have a man and a woman. Yes. They decide one day, they fall in love, they decide to do a wedding. We even fundraise, attend a wedding in church. They are all smiling. What goes wrong? What exactly goes wrong to the extent that we hear about these sad stories? We hear about spouses killing, someone killing their partner. You hear about somebody beating their partner. You hear somebody telling their partner, you are not going to work, you have to stay at home. What exactly leads to that? Have you been able to interrogate these issues? Why we have this kind of situation that eventually builds up to this violence that we are talking about?
So some of those, I'll give one of the reasons for that is traditional and conservative narratives. So in some situations, I'll give you an example, where now for like that man and that woman that you've talked about, they do not want to partner as human beings, and they look down on the other. Like you'll feel like the woman is less of a human being. She shouldn't do this, she shouldn't do this, and then insecurities, and then the fact that these are all brought up by traditions. You hear, some of them grew up knowing that they believe that this is how it's supposed to be. Maybe their father was beating their mother. So you grow up knowing that that's how it's supposed to be. So those are some of the narratives we should work hard to change. So you grow up thinking that even this person you're falling in love, that that's the way of love. So some of these things are brought about by how you grew up. So our upbringing also affects us, and those are the things that we should change.
Basra, what's your take on that issue? What do you think goes on?
She said something about culture mindsets, but I want to also bring in a more practical situation like you just did.
Please.
When you see a mother, you know, there is something they say that a mother's love is something unmatched. But then there is a time this mother is going to be very bitter with the child she loved or she loves so much. So I think this is a natural issue, but the challenge comes with the way we choose to handle things. And she just mentioned about the issue of that traditional narrative, the issue of thinking that maybe a woman cannot speak something. I personally have a very close relative who tells me that for me, I will never and I can never marry a woman like you. Why? Because he actually prefers a woman who is going to sit down and never challenge him in any manner. Today, he wants you to leave this house, you leave immediately. Today, he wants you not to give birth anymore, you stop. Today, he wants you not to go to school, you don't go. So that these are some of the things that men have on board. And again, another issue in regards to this is that when these two people get married, we are forgetting one thing, that a girl child is, they spend a month or even the entire lifetime of this girl trying to tell her how she should behave before a man. She is nurtured. No one tells her to kneel down before a man. No one tells her to cook. She does all these things because she has been brought up in that manner. But the question is, who sits down these men we get married to?
Yes.
Do they sit down also before they get married and they teach them how basically a woman should be treated? Or because they just come assuming that they're going to maybe marry a piece of wood that doesn't have feelings. And they even, by the way, today I actually just questioned. I was thinking about the guts, where these men get the guts from. Coming bold and telling you, I have 5 kids out. I have a woman out. Yes, no one is challenging the odds. I'm personally a Muslim. I believe in polygamy. But again, there should be a suitable way. There should be a better approach. This woman you're telling is basically having a heart. She feels something. You're emotionally hurting her. And when she goes to witchcraft to bewitch your children, you again say how bad this woman is. But I think how you feel when you see me as a wife talking to another man and you hear this man now wants me to be his suitor, and it's actually the similar way I would feel when I'm sharing you with another woman. Or it's actually the similar way I will feel when I'm having my husband having children out of, because best personally, I think I'm going to try do everything to make you happy. But again, aside that, the main important issue is how do you address these issues? Are you lenient enough? Are you equitable enough? Are you considerate? Do you even think that, because, by the way, I should tell you one thing. These men, whatsoever they do to young girls or women, let me say women in marriage, they never pray that happens to their daughters. God bears witness.
All right, there's something very important that you raise, and I've had people talking about it, and you can weigh in, Samantha. The issue of leaving the boy child behind. You're always talking about the girl child, the girl child, the girl child. There seems to be no attention to a boy child who is going to graduate into a husband and probably do the things that you're campaigning against. How do we bring the boy child on board?
And that happens a lot. In most homes, you see that the boy is seated. They're only given the finished products of things. They're not taught how to cook. They don't even see the process of cooking. People just think all their things should be provided for them at the table. Food is given to them. But boys do not learn how the whole raw material process of getting to the finished product. And that is an issue. This affects... This is wrong in all ways, because now this is a person. in later on who you want to see as a head of the family? How is a person who has even not seen how the home is run? They've just been seated their whole time expecting things to be done to be done for them. How does such a boy be able to lead a family? So I think that's where we are getting it wrong. People like leaving the boys. They feel like boys shouldn't do this, boys shouldn't do this. In a home, you'll go and you're just finding the girls washing plates. Why can't just a boy can't wash a plate, can't do, like, those are the things, the way they teach girls and women, like they usually teach girls.
Gender roles.
Yes, gender roles. Why aren't boys even taught? And it's not even about, people should know that these are life skills. Cooking is a life skill. It's not for a woman. Washing clothes is not for a woman. These are life skills that each gender should actually appreciate having. So I think the world should actually be able to not only teach girls, but also teach boys all these skills.
All right, Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. Let's hear some views that are coming in from the listeners. We have somebody here who's writing and saying toxic masculinity is what makes men and boys face challenges such as GBV and fail to respond or speak. There's that tendency that there's violence actually being meted out against men, but they never respond. But Bashra, what's your take on that?
I think I'll have to post this back to the society. And one time I had a hot exchange with my professor in my master's class. It was like, but you women out there, you're no longer even women. You just talk about things, you're totally different from what you're supposed to do. Even men face, this kind of violence. But my question is, it is the community, or it is the society, the culture that makes a man to be, that makes a boy, actually from childhood, this young boy is told that when you fall, you don't cry. Men don't cry. First of all, he falls, he feels the pain, is even bleeding, and he's told men don't cry. Men don't do this. Men don't do this. But this man has a feeling too. And sometimes they're even told that men don't talk. Even women have those characteristics of saying that I don't want to actually have a man who overtalks. I want a man who is always quiet.
But we have also heard that issues that happen in a home should not be talked about. The Baganda, they say, you don't just go around talking about such things. On the level. And this might include violence.
It depends on the level of
and that's another mindset change. Why aren't we talking about violence? This is where it starts from. You don't want to talk about it before you know it, someone has died. You are there trying to keep. And you go home, they've beaten you. Even there are those cultural things. You go home, they've beaten you, then your mother says, Mwana angegendo gume. That's how marriage is. Yet your child will come back in a coffin maybe a month later. Right. So these are the things that we have to really work on.
Sharif writes in and says, what's the role of the police when it comes to arresting such offenders and defilers? They are bribed and released. That's his comment there. Do you share that?
I told you that. I have one man I know. He has so far raped 2 children, or his own children, girls. But whenever he's taken to sell, the next day we'll see him at his chapat stall making money.
So it's actually happening.
And so why would you blame someone if they choose the issue of mob justice? Because we are going to sometimes attack and destroy someone if these issues are not worked upon.
All right, we have another comment coming in. Uganda gender-based violence is female-centered and business-oriented, unlike men who are not favored in any way when they encounter any challenge, which has resulted into personal and negative reactions. Somebody thinks when it comes to gender-based violence, it's women, women, women.
I don't think that is just...
Maybe it is a narrative we need to deal with also.
Yes, that's a narrative we need to change. And we should also be open that, yes, in as much as it happens to men, there are also the percentages that really happen to women are a lot. But that person shouldn't say that there are no organizations that advocate for men. They are there. You're just not being open to organizations that are there. You can go to human rights. They may not be... because even you could come to us, we shall recommend you or send you to an organization that will help you as a man.
All right.
There are organizations that
we have
help.
Isaac writing in and saying, very interesting. It's mainly mothers that train both girls and boys in how to run homes. This is to the two ladies in studio. Do they train their children, boys and girls, what they preach? That's a comment there from Isaac. But we also have another comment coming in from Reverend Canon Awodi John, who says, Mr. Lukwago, I picked the discussion a little late and I was not able to get the name of the discussants. Well, I will tell you the names, but my take is, should we legalize abortion and related vices because it's on the increase? Does it mean, therefore, that we legalize corruption because it's increasing? Should we legalize murder because the rates are escalating? Our approach should be to acknowledge that these are societal vices, and we'll deal with the vices squarely. Legalizing abortion will not reduce the attendant problems, or passing a law to encourage contraceptive use among teenage girls is not the solution. To me, we should deal severely with the perpetrators of the evil. Yes. I sympathize with our society now. These days, whoever commits a crime, the village will know, and my father, being a Muruka chief, dealt with such cases severely. Those days when we still had Muruka chiefs, that's what he's saying. There is so much exposure to unwanted avenues that abet such vices in our time through social media. Can we stand together as one voice, CSOs, faith institutions, local council and government agencies, plus the government, to deal with this? Let the CSOs help to come up with the sensitization of the population. We are hearing from a religious leader there. How would you like to respond to him?
Actually, what he's saying is also what I always believe in. Abortion should come in when it is really called for. But to me, my question is, we are talking about young women here. There is a man who has already put this young girl's life at risk by raping her or by defiling her. Her being pregnant is already exposing her to death or to severe damage. And my question is, if we bring in the issue of abortion, that is it's a double punishment to this young girl. She has been raped. Now we all know that even abortion affects women who are even in 30s or 40s. So my question is, where are the men in this? I want to sit here and hear a policy, or I hear something that has been resolved, that today, if we get a man who has impregnated a juvenile or an adolescent young woman, this is going to be the punishment. But I cannot take abortion.
These punishments, are they not already prescribed in the law? Don't we have enough laws?
Then they are, but to an extent, some aren't being implemented.
Okay.
Then I think the issue should be a lot of energy should be put on implementation, other than putting this young girl on abortion. I personally don't support abortion as a means of helping this young girl.
All right. Samantha, doesn't the law allow abortion right now in certain circumstances?
When it has to do with the life of the mother, but as in Uganda,
incest.
There is a term in the penal code, but abortion is not allowed, and that is also among the things for us as an organization, because we cannot hide the fact that abortion is happening. So what we come in, why we talk about abortion as an organization, is can it be made available, because they'll be safe and legally, people will not be hiding, so they'll be able to go to institutions or facilities that are good healthcare facilities and get the abortion, instead of going and using sticks, because that is happening. Because obviously it's wrong. In Uganda, it's not really allowed unless in special circumstances that are only prescribed by law. But you can't just be there going to the hospital. Actually, you can't even ask for it in a hospital. So people go there. We have even had an incident where a girl in the East, she went and they pushed a stick. They do that a lot. So it's important.
What do you mean they pushed a stick?
They pushed a stick to try and get out the baby through her private parts. So this is because people are fearing to go to the hospitals. So why don't we be open to the realities that are there and make sure that it's legal, it's accepted in the country, so that they'll be safe. People can be able to access this safe abortion.
Does that change your mind on the issue of abortion, Basra?
It doesn't. Because even hospitals are there, they illegally operate. We have private hospitals where a woman can go and give birth and pay 5 million, and she still dies from there when all the facilities are there. I want to hear something like maybe castration. We will castrate those men. Yes, they should be castrated.
And like she said also, that we are not only saying that abortion, we should also go to the root causes. Let's make sure we sensitize the girls about their rights, saying no, and maybe contraceptive, because girls even as young as 12 years in like villages are having sex. So let children know about their rights and how they can prevent these things.
Yiga Samuel Mary listening in from Namlondo Zone in Wege says, Mr. Kenneth, thanks for the show. Those SGBV activists should trace the root cause of all such violence, especially the dressing code. Actually, culture, values, and norms have been through ways. Parents should therefore put much emphasis on child upbringing. Discipline is very paramount. That is a comment there from Yiga Samuel Mary. When I read out his comment, you all seemed to be agitated. What's the issue?
Those things. That's what we are saying. Mindset change. How can you say that the cause of me being violated is my dress code? That is, sometimes I don't even want to be offensive.
All right, very quickly. We are coming towards the end of the show.
I'm a Muslim
closing.
Woman. I wear a hijab, but it's by choice. No one forces me to. So everyone should dress what they want, for as long as they are not naked. So their dress code, what they feel like dressing, should not be because you also see men who move when the muscles are out. Do we rape them?
Your final take as we end this show.
As we end this show, I call on to the government, the different NGO, citizens. Let's all invest in fighting violence against women and girls, and let us all be a part of the 16 days of activism against GBV.
All right, with that, we come to the end of Spectrum today. Let me thank you, ladies, for actually making time, and the listeners for contributing to this show. Thank you very much. We'll continue bringing you voices as we continue our efforts to deal with the challenge of sexual and gender-based violence as part of commemorating the 16 days of activism. I've been your host, Kenneth Lukwagandason. Up next, we have the news in English with Miss Josephine Dadano. Thereafter, we'll have the Soul Train.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. Brought to you by Housing Finance Bank, a financial institution regulated by Bank of Uganda. Housing Finance Bank, we make it easy.
The views expressed on this show are not necessarily those of this radio station or its management.